So our guest today is someone who is in that rather large society of those who have lost access to Bitcoin once held. Mac Conwell, founder and managing partner at RareBreed Ventures, had his first exposure to Bitcoin when the accelerator he was a part of distributed 10 Bitcoin to each of its participants. And at RareBreed Ventures, Mac has raised a small venture fund, I think $10 million, taking small checks from a large number of limited partners. So he tweets frequently at Mac the VC about democratizing finance and technology investing. Welcome, Mac.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for telling the story of those 10 Bitcoin that I've lost and will never get back, and still soul crushing to this day.
Come on, that's not a soul crushing number like that. I mean, that's a nagging and annoying and possibly sometimes painful number. But there are stories you can read of people who truly could not sleep at night.
$500,000 is pretty soul crushing to me. I don't know about you.
Soul crushing. We got to define the soul crushing threshold. Yes, you got to think of those people. Especially in the holiday season, right?
Yes.
Well, Meg, I want to start by talking about your venture fund, RareBreed. You've had a somewhat unique approach to raising the fund. What have you done, and why did you take that approach?
Yeah, so at RareBreed Ventures, interestingly enough, 80% of all the limited partners or people who invest in our fund I met through a communication on Twitter. So I basically raised a $10 million fund on Twitter. And it was just because I was an investor based out of Baltimore, Maryland, who didn't have a network of investors. I didn't have a network of LPs. And so I used Twitter as a way to grow my network, and it became my strategy of choice for fundraising.
Tell me about what that's brought you. I mean, what's the silver lining? Obviously, everybody wants to have the best and biggest network they can. By going through those alternative routes, what have you found?
One, I've gained not only a massive network, but a massive community. So for context, when I started this on Twitter, I had 2,500 followers. Today, I have, I think, 58,000, right? Mostly other investors, entrepreneurs, and dreamers. And so, one, I've been able to find really amazing companies. I've been able to follow really amazing trends. And whenever I have a company that needs help, like I'm a one-man shop. I'm a solo I'm a solo GP. But I do have a team, right? Like I have 3 fellows. I have a partner who's a venture partner now, but will be my partner for fund 2. But even within that, I'm the only full-time person today. And so if I have a company that ever needs any help, I can tweet about it. And within about an hour, I have whatever resource or help that founder needs. And if I have a company that wants to do some research or wants to run a campaign or something, I can tweet about it and, really market my company. So being able to grow that network, works twofold for my founders. And there's nothing wrong with having a great network, right? The network is your network. That's what they say.
I think that's something that would resonate with folks working in cryptocurrency and open source, sort of the network effect of developing a community that sits behind a project. And I think, for a lot of people, the appeal of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is in the promise of a sort of democratization of finance. So I'm interested to know, Mac, what do you see in Bitcoin and in crypto in general that has the potential to really change the financial sector for people?
I mean, Bitcoin's already changed the financial sector, right? Like Bitcoin was the first major cryptocurrency blockchain project that made everything we're seeing today, possible. Like Web3 exists today in its current form because of all that Bitcoin has done, of the popularization of Bitcoin and it becoming part of pop culture. And so now we're seeing people getting paid in Bitcoin and crypto. We're seeing DAOs or decentralized organizations where, everybody can buy into an organization using crypto, or everybody can buy into a project, organization, could be any kind of thing, right? We saw the group do that for the Constitution. They were using a DAO to purchase a Constitution. Like things like that don't exist without Bitcoin. And Web3 is the future where everything's going to be powered by the blockchain. I mean, it's to the point now where as an investor, it's really hard for me to get excited about some companies because when I meet a company, I just know hey, this company's going to get disrupted by a Web3 version of itself, right? And, a great example of that is a company I know called Oasis Calling. Not a company we invested in, but it's a company that uses the blockchain and NFTs. But really what they do is they allow you to create avatars that are lifelike avatars, and use them for video calling. So I could be on this call with you and be in my shower, but you would see me as I am right now. But then the avatar is connected to an NFT that you can use between different platforms and eventually go to the metaverse. Like, that's just mind-blowing, right? But even something like that only exists because of what Bitcoin has done. And so, Web3 is the future, and everything we do and see is going to be that way. A company I'm really bullish on, and one that we invested in, is a company called Path. Used to be called Scholarly. Used to be a platform that helped students plan and pay for college. And when they decided to offer students a credit card, they did it backed by a stablecoin. So they're on Terra, or they're on the Terra blockchain. And now it's going to be a thing where every time one of these young people use their card and swipe it, they're going to get some tokens that represent ownership in the company. Like, just imagine that. Like, as somebody who's I'm a millennial or whatever, and Visa, MasterCard or whatever. Think about every time you swipe your Visa or MasterCard, you would get a little piece of stock. That equates to actual governance and real ownership. We're seeing projects like that, and like just the idea, and like, of course, the founder of this company is a Gen Zer who decided, hey, my company's not a crypto company, but we're going to make it a crypto company because it makes sense. And like the idea of ownership is so unique to this next generation. Things I'm bullish about.
You also mentioned getting paid in Bitcoin. That's been a kind of a hashtag and a trend. Pay me in Bitcoin. Why do I want to get paid in Bitcoin as opposed to just getting paid in dollars and using my dollars to buy Bitcoin? What is the benefit to the investor, to the employee, and kind of, or even beyond the benefit? What's the psychology that makes that attractive?
I think it's something I've seen with some of the Gen Zers I've been interacting with, where they're talking about they're not just looking for money, they're looking for assets, they're looking for ownership, right? And so this is a chance for them to get paid in an asset, right? And it's an asset that grows over time and can grow very quickly, right? The idea that I could get half of my pay in Bitcoin, let's say you make $2,000 and $1,000 of that comes in Bitcoin. Well, it's one of the few assets out there where you can go to sleep and wake up the next day and that $1,000 turned into $5,000. Hell, that $1,000 turned into $100,000. You don't see that in many different asset classes, right? And so the idea of like, I want to get paid in something that represents ownership and growth, I think it's just a wave that we're going to see from young people. A lot of these Gen Zers, they grew up in households with family members that will tell them about the '08 crisis and how hard it was after college and how they had to struggle with student loan debts. And they're like, I don't want that. Let me get on Twitch. Yeah. Let me be a gamer. Let me start making stuff. Let me make NFTs and get paid in ETH, right? You get paid in Ether and you look up and whatever you make in Ether today might be worth 20 times that, 3 years from now. So I think it's this idea of ownership and growth where, your dollar only grows but so much.
Right. And shrinks, actually, I guess, in the
certainly in the current moment you get a dollar, it starts shrinking.
Yeah. So you talked about Gen Z a little bit there, and also called yourself out as a millennial. And I think these generational distinctions, as much as I sometimes I'm like, look, how much of a difference is there really, right? That we're all yes. born on, what is that analogy, right? If the history of the universe was a calendar year, this is like the last half hour of the last day, right? Human civilization, right? We're all fellow travelers here, right? But there are important distinctions, especially when it comes to cryptocurrency, and there is a generational preference. You're looking at if you will, Bitcoin is the gold of a new generation, right? It's a change in preference, and I think we haven't really learned what the full extent of that preference is. And I want to come back to this question of millennials and Gen Z, because millennials have this kind of history with 2008 and the Great Recession, right? Of sort of feeling like we missed out. Where is our opportunity for growth? How does that play out in terms of this desire for ownership and this view of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and the attractiveness of earning rewards in something other than dollar equivalents and perhaps more in the form of something with upside?
I think it's the idea of being tied to being tied to platforms that can change overnight in such a negative way. Like in '08, when the market crashed, everybody felt it, right? But everything in our lifetime has been tied so much to the capital markets. We're starting to see some cryptos aren't, like capital markets might go boom and crypto might keep going. That's some of the stuff that we're seeing. That's the things that, we're projecting on our end. And so this idea of pay me is something that's going to keep going. That even if one market crashes, this other market is going to keep growing. And, those are lessons and thoughts that come from that '08 crisis, right? If you're 21, you were a young kid when that happened, but you heard it, you felt it, you saw it, you heard everybody talking about it. So today, you don't want that. And the idea, even athletes like Odell Beckham Jr. say he's going to get the rest of his salary in Bitcoin. I mean, that's just smart from an investment standpoint, right? That's just like saying, hey, pay me, the next half of my salary in like a Picasso, right? Like that's
less concerned about the short-term volatility and more thinking about what's something that's going to still have value in 3, 5, and is going to have a lot more value 3, 5, 10 years from now. Yeah, I think definitely Bitcoin has a good answer to that question, right? You think about what's going to be around.
Bitcoin has a great answer to that.
Yeah,
Bitcoin has a great answer to that. And like,
you just look at the chart of the past 10 years. Not only that, but also just the way Bitcoin's constructed, right? You think about like what has that ability to survive, an economic meltdown. Bitcoin might be it. Interesting.
Bitcoin might be it.
Mac, we're running out of time, but I want to just kind of close with a kind of look ahead. What do you see in store for 2022 near term for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies?
I think Bitcoin is going to continue to go strong. I think we're going to see more and more people start to pay themselves in it, pay their employees in it. We're going to see more and more people start to invest in it. There's a company in our portfolio called Early Bird. They allow for people to create custodial accounts for their children, so friends and family members can make investments, basically crowdfund investing for your children from your friends and family, right? They're going to be the first ones to offer crypto. Bitcoin's going to be that. Imagine you got a goddaughter or a son or a child on the way, and the first person they get is $100 in Bitcoin from their grandmother. Just imagine if you're a child born in 2022 and you start with $100 of Bitcoin from your grandmother, just put an account for you. They did it from an app on their phone. That kind of stuff is amazing. We invest in another company called RollFi. RollFi allows for companies to pay their employees in crypto, right? If you have an employee who wants to, get part of their salary in Bitcoin, sign up for their service and do that. And we're going to see more and more projects. Like
right.
That.
2022, that kind of groundswell of individuals taking paychecks, making gifts, investing, that continues, that momentum continues. Good.
I don't think this momentum ever stops, man.